Hello Universes, I want the rules to be easy, and today I'm going to talk about responses. And we're going to kind of bite this off into a pretty small chunk, just an introduction to some broad shapes of responses, because ultimately responses deal with the smallest units of the game and kind of necessarily reflect all the complexities of the game. And so, kind of the graduate level response course kind of covers the entire game all at once. And just to kind of situate us all, I've got a slide again for another one of these. Ultimately, we're focusing on instructions and game events. Again, the smallest units of the game. Instructions are just single verbs that players have to follow, and then game events are the things to which you can respond ultimately. And so every time we play an ability, we know that abilities start with a player getting priority, and then choosing to play an ability, paying its cost, and then resolving its effect, doing its effect. Um, a very common place to put a response is to respond to a player playing an ability, such as seeking entry here says if your rival plays a non-character ability that adds any number of cards to their hand, do some stuff, nasty things to the board, draw your own card. This contrasts a lot with abilities that respond to some specific thing happening actually before your opponent draws one or more cards due to their effect, mess with their deck. Or else we might see after they draw cards, draw your own card. Um, and let's look at some examples to understand this. Horrifying Realization form, both players discard a card, then draw a card, depending on what happened. Your rival might commit a foundation. With Seeking Entry, when my rival plays their Horrifying Realization ability, they pay their cost, and I respond. And then we kind of step up a level and say, okay, now it's time for my response, or it's time to resolve my ability. Technically, I get priority to respond. Both players get priority to respond every time someone plays an ability. Every time there is a game event, both players do get priority to respond. This could probably use a diagram, but we're just distinguishing between responses to playing and responses to resolving, so to speak. But to get to the point here, before Horrifying Realization goes off, I'll resolve my entire Seeking Entry response, including drawing my card, and then we go back down and resolve the Horrifying Realization. I discard one, which might be the card I just drew. This is pretty different from the way Risky Gamble ends up interacting here, because my rival might play their form, uh, pay their cost, and then begin to resolve the effect. I haven't responded yet because I'm responding to the actual event of them drawing. So first they discard a card. I have to discard the card. I have to choose the card I want from the cards that are already in my hand. Uh, Resolve that instruction, discarding one. Then I draw one. Then I resolve my Risky Gamble. And even if I discarded a foundation at the start, if Risky Gamble was my only committed face down foundation, my only committed foundation, or my only ready foundation rather, period, I still am responding before we actually get to the final instructions of Horrifying Realization. And this is just a case where you have to read the cards carefully to follow the exact details, the exact contours of what's happening. But in this case, we see there are three verbs here: discards a card, draws a card, and eventually they commit one foundation. And so we do the instructions in order, and responses to them might happen between these instructions, or frequently will happen between the instructions. Um, yeah, so that's I think all for that one. And then another I think pretty interesting case with an action like referee jury. Once again, this is an ability that go check out the other video that I just released yesterday, I think, if you want to hear more about abilities that. But this is an ability that draws a card, and so Seeking Entry responds as soon as you play referee jury. Suppose I'm playing referee jury, my rival will get to respond to Seeking Entry, seal my stuff, commit my draw a card, and that'll happen before the damage change happens, and well before I'm going to draw a card. Uh, Approximately the same time referee jury even enters the card pool. But this contrasts a lot, and it ends up with how Risky Gamble plays, where you'll play the enhance and nothing will happen for a while. Eventually, you'll draw a card, and when the attack deals damage, and then only then does Risky Gamble proc. Um, this is pretty much the visual aid for everything I just said. Seeking Entry is responding at the very top here after we finish paying the cost for referee jury. Then we get our Seeking Entry response, and that happens before all of this stuff in the middle here, which contrasts with Risky Gamble, which is actually happening as a response to the fired effect resolving, drawing a card much later, potentially in the turn, or not at all if the attack ends up not dealing damage. And that was what I wanted to talk about today. I'm going to cram in a Kisan Bakugo, who's been on the chart for Rules Explainer, ultimately not quite what I envisioned at first, I think, because penalties and damage reductions turned into something else. But we're going to kind of him in here before we get to these spicy takes from U.S. Nationals this last weekend. See you in the next one. Bye.